Some of the most dangerous people in your life don't hurt you, they stay. And that's exactly the problem. They don't slam doors or send cruel messages or disappear overnight. They stay, they smile, they show up to things, they ask how you're doing. And on paper, on every single piece of paper, they look like a friend. But something always feels off. You walk away from conversations with them feeling slightly drained, slightly smaller, like you said too much or maybe not enough, like something important happened in that interaction, and you can't quite name what it was. You replay it later, searching for the moment things went sideways, and you find nothing. Because on the surface, they're still your friend. That confusion, that quiet, persistent sense that something is missing even when nothing is technically wrong is one of the most disorienting experiences a person can have. And it's more common than most people realize. Here's what the science tells us about where we are right now. The United States Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, declared in 2023 that America is facing what he called an epidemic of loneliness. Nearly half of adults report feeling lonely. Social connection has declined sharply over the last few decades. The number of close friendships people report having has dropped not slightly, but significantly. People are surrounded by more contacts than ever before, and yet they feel more unseen than any previous generation. And in that kind of environment, not every friendship is real. Some connections exist not because of trust, not because of genuine care or mutual investment, but because of convenience, because of proximity, because of what each person offers the other, even if neither one of them has ever said it out loud. From a psychological perspective, humans are wired to belong. This is not a metaphor, it's biology. The need for social connection is built into the nervous system the same way hunger is. And when genuine connection is absent, when the real thing is hard to find or hard to maintain, people don't simply stop, they adapt. They start forming what psychologists sometimes call functional relationships. Connections that look real, that feel real, at least on certain days, but that aren't emotionally invested at their core. These relationships serve a purpose. They fill a slot, and the person filling that slot may not even be fully aware they're doing it. This is where a concept called emotional utility becomes important. Some people, not out of malice, but out of their own unresolved emptiness, don't experience you as a person. They experience you as a function, what you provide, what role you play, what the relationship gives them access to. Maybe it's status, maybe it's entertainment, maybe it's simply not being alone on a Friday night. And as long as that function exists, they stay. The moment it doesn't, something shifts. This isn't always a conscious choice. That's what makes it so hard to see. Research into loneliness has found that chronic disconnection actually changes how the brain processes relationships. A 2021 neuroscience study found that lonely individuals process the world differently at a neural level, feeling disconnected even when surrounded by people. They can't access depth, not because they're incapable of it, but because something in their nervous system has learned to settle, to trade genuine intimacy for the next best thing. Surface-level connection, presence without vulnerability, the shape of friendship without the substance. So they're not pretending to be your friend out of cruelty. In many cases, they're doing the only thing their emotional system knows how to do. They're surviving, they're filling a need. And you, your warmth, your openness, your willingness to show up became part of how they do that. But here's the part nobody tells you. The reason you didn't notice, or the reason you noticed but kept second-guessing yourself, isn't because you're naive. It's because your brain was working against your own clarity. Your nervous system is designed to protect social bonds, even weak ones, even ones that cost you more than they give. Because historically, losing connection wasn't just painful, it was dangerous. Isolation meant vulnerability. It meant reduced survival. So the brain learned to rationalize, to smooth over inconsistencies, to look for evidence that the bond is safe, rather than evidence that it isn't. So instead of questioning the friendship, You questioned yourself. You told yourself you were being too sensitive, too needy, too quick to read into things. You gave the benefit of the doubt again and again because that felt safer than confronting what your gut already knew. There's also something called the friendship paradox, a phenomenon where people consistently perceive others as more socially connected than they actually are. It creates a kind of invisible imbalance. You assume the other person has rich, deep friendships elsewhere, which makes the thinness of your connection feel like your fault, like a gap in you, not in them. And so you try harder, you stay, you keep showing up. The hardest truth is this: fake friends don't always look fake. They look normal. They act normal. They say the right things at the right times. They show up when life is easy and light and there's nothing at stake. They're funny. They're warm. Sometimes they make you laugh. They respond to your messages. They celebrate the small things. But when things get heavy, when you actually need something, when the situation requires them to give something real, they quietly disappear. Not dramatically, not in a way you can point to. They just become less available, less present. The energy shifts, and you're left wondering whether you imagined the closeness in the first place. You didn't. You felt something real. You just felt it alone. The way this dynamic changes across a lifetime is worth understanding because it doesn't stay the same. When you're younger, these relationships are almost invisible. You don't have the language for what feels wrong. You assume that friendship is supposed to feel like this slightly effortful, slightly uneven, slightly confusing. You normalize the drain because you've never known anything different. As you get older, something shifts, not because the behavior in others changes, but because your tolerance does. The body starts sending clearer signals. The fatigue after certain interactions becomes harder to ignore. The pattern becomes more visible because you've lived through it enough times to recognize it. What once felt like your fault starts to feel like information. This isn't bitterness. It isn't cynicism. It's calibration. There's a metaphor that fits here. Imagine carrying a blanket that keeps you warm but scratches your skin just slightly every single day. You keep it because it's familiar, because it does something, because replacing it requires acknowledging that it was never quite right to begin with. Functional friendships work the same way. They regulate something in you. They reduce the fear of being entirely alone. They give you a place to put your words, even if those words are never fully received. The brain doesn't stay in discomfort if it can find a way out. And sometimes, a scratchy blanket is the way out. It's not what you deserve, but it's what was available. And for a long time, maybe it was enough. Once you start noticing the pattern, something changes. Not suddenly, not all at once, but quietly, in the way that real shifts always happen. You stop rehearsing conversations in your head before you have them, trying to manage someone else's reaction. You stop explaining yourself to people who were never really listening. You stop measuring your worth by how much someone chooses to stay. You stop chasing presence, and you start valuing alignment. That distinction is everything. Presence is physical, alignment is felt. You can be in a room full of people who are present and feel completely invisible. And you can have one conversation with someone who truly sees you and carry it for years. Not everyone who stays is there for you, and not everyone who leaves was ever against you. This is one of the quieter, more important truths about human connection. The people who drift, who disappear, who were never fully available, they were often carrying their own version of loneliness, their own nervous system, their own history, their own limits. They weren't performing cruelty. They were performing survival in the only way they knew how. That doesn't make it hurt less. It doesn't make the drain less real or the confusion less exhausting, but it changes what the story means. It means you weren't foolish for caring. You weren't wrong for trusting. You were human, extending something genuine in a world where genuine things are increasingly rare. And sometimes, losing a friendship that was never quite real, sitting with that quiet grief, is the moment you finally understand what you were actually looking for all along. Not someone who stays, someone who sees.